I never liked the idea of my wife taking dance lessons. Something about it always rubbed me the wrong way. Not because I was insecure or the jealous type. No, I had never been that kind of man. I gave Karen her space, trusted her, never questioned her choices. But this felt different from the start. I had seen it before. Maybe not in my own life, but in other people's. Coworkers, friends, random stories online. It always started the same way. A woman gets bored, restless. She needs something new, something exciting. Then she finds a hobby, something harmless at first. Yoga, painting, running, whatever. But sometimes it isn't harmless. Sometimes it's dance. And dance? Dance was intimacy disguised as exercise. It was bodies pressed too close together under the excuse of proper technique. It was hands lingering where they shouldn't. It was hours spent moving in sync with someone who wasn't your spouse, learning each other's rhythms, breathing the same air, sharing moments that should belong only to the person waiting for you at home. Still, I didn't argue when Karen brought it up. She had been restless for a while. I could tell. Pacing around the house, scrolling endlessly on her phone, complaining about feeling stuck, about needing something for herself. And what kind of husband would I be if I stood in her way? "It'll be good for me," she had said, smiling in that way she always did when she wanted me to agree. Something just for myself. So every Tuesday and Thursday evening, she packed her bag, tied her hair up, and left for an hour and a half of salsa or the tango or whatever it was she had signed up for. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need to. I told myself it was nothing, that I was overthinking, that this was just another one of those things I had to let her have. At first, I ignored the little things. The way she came home breathless, her cheeks flushed with color like she had just finished running a marathon. The way she stretched her legs absent-mindedly, rolling her ankles, twisting her waist, moving like someone who had been using her body in ways she wasn't used to. The way her perfume lingered a little longer than it should have, its scent clinging to her skin, mixed with something else, something I couldn't quite place. Then came the changes. The subtle ones, the ones she thought I wouldn't notice. She started wearing tighter outfits, ones that hugged her body in ways that made me wonder why she had never dressed like that for me. She started spending more time in front of the mirror, tilting her head, adjusting, fixing, perfecting. She started talking about dance in a way that made my stomach twist, like it was the most exciting thing in her life. And then, one evening, she made a mistake. Karen left her phone on the couch. I hadn't meant to look at it. I wasn't that kind of husband, the kind who snoops, who digs through his wife's things looking for evidence of something he doesn't want to find. But the screen lit up with a notification, and I happened to glance over. A video file, sent from an unknown number. I don't know what made me open it. Maybe instinct. Maybe that quiet, nagging feeling that had been crawling under my skin for weeks, the one I had been ignoring. The moment I tapped the screen, I knew. The video started playing. The setting was a dimly lit dance studio, the kind with mirrored walls and polished wooden floors. The music was low, sultry, the kind of melody that made you feel something deep in your gut. And there they were, Karen and him. At first, it was just a normal dance. A slow, controlled routine, nothing I could point at and call wrong. But then my eyes caught the details, the things that turned my blood to fire. His hands weren't where they should be. They weren't just guiding her, weren't just leading her through the movements. They were holding her. Firm, possessive. One pressed against the small of her back, fingers splayed wide, pulling her closer. The other drifting too slowly along her waist, grazing her ribs, fingertips brushing against her side like he had every right to touch her that way. And Karen, she wasn't just following his lead. She was melting into it. Her body moved against his like it was natural, like it wasn't the first time, like she had done it before and wanted to do it again. She looked up at him with something I didn't recognize, something I had never seen when she looked at me. It wasn't just dancing. It wasn't just a routine. It was something else entirely. My hands clenched into fists. My jaw locked. I didn't even realize how hard I was gripping her phone until my knuckles turned white. My heart pounded, not with sadness, not with hurt, but with pure, unfiltered rage. I looked toward the hallway. The sound of running water filled the house. Karen was in the shower, humming to herself, completely unaware that her little secret had just been ripped open. I should have waited. I should have calmed down. But the fury burned too hot, too fast, and I wasn't the kind of man to sit on it. I turned on my heel and walked toward the bathroom door, the phone still clutched in my hand. She was going to explain every damn bit of it. I stood outside the bathroom door, gripping Karen's phone so tightly I thought I might crack the screen. Steam curled from the bottom of the door frame, the faint scent of lavender soap mixing with the heat in the air. She was in there, humming softly, oblivious to the storm waiting for her on the other side. My pulse pounded in my ears. Every second that passed felt like a countdown to an explosion I wasn't sure I could control. I could walk away. I could wait. I could act like I never saw it, sit down on the couch, and pretend that the woman I had married wasn't grinding up against some sweaty dance instructor like a lovesick teenager. But that wasn't who I was. I wasn't the kind of man to swallow my anger and let it rot inside me. I wasn't the kind of fool who would wait for the situation to get worse before confronting it. No, Karen was going to face this now, dripping wet and cornered with nowhere to run. I raised my fist and pounded on the door. The humming stopped. A few seconds later, her voice floated through the steam. Yeah. I didn't answer. She hesitated before speaking again, her tone cautious now. What is it? Still, I didn't respond. The silence stretched thick between us. I could hear the water shutting off, the rustle of a towel being grabbed, the hesitation in her movements. Then, finally, the door cracked open and Karen peered out, her damp hair clinging to her shoulders. She wrapped the towel tighter around herself when she saw the look on my face. What's wrong? She asked, her brow furrowing. I lifted the phone and tapped the screen, playing the video again. Her gaze dropped to the glowing screen. She blinked, then frowned as if she didn't understand what she was looking at. But I wasn't a fool. I saw the way her fingers twitched against the towel, the way her throat bobbed as she swallowed hard. What is this, Karen? I asked, my voice cold, controlled. She hesitated, just for a second, but a second was all it took to tell me that she knew exactly what this was. It's just a dance, she said finally, forcing a weak smile. You're overreacting. I felt my jaw tighten. Overreacting. That word was a match to gasoline. I stepped forward, making her take a half step back. Is that what you call this? I asked, holding the phone closer to her face. The video looped again, her pressed against him, his hands roaming, the way she let herself sink into him like he was the only thing keeping her standing. Karen let out a small, breathy laugh, like I was being ridiculous. Come on, it's a sensual style. It's supposed to look like that. It's just part of the performance. You know, acting, expression. I stared at her, feeling something inside me twist and snap. She was still lying. Even when I had the evidence right in front of her, she was still making excuses, still trying to paint me as the unreasonable one. Expression. I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet. Tell me, Karen, what exactly were you expressing when his hands were all over you? She flinched. Barely. But I caught it. Her fingers clenched around the towel, and she let out a sharp breath, shaking her head. You're twisting this into something it's not. That was it. That was the moment the last thread of patience inside me snapped. Do you think I'm an idiot? I growled, stepping forward again. Do you think I don't know what this looks like? What it means? Her eyes darted away, searching for something. An escape, a distraction, maybe just another excuse that I wouldn't tear apart the second it left her mouth. I don't know what you want me to say, she muttered. I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. Try the truth, Karen. Just once. She bit her lip, her arms wrapping tightly around herself. It's not what you think. I scoffed. Oh, really? Then why didn't you tell me about this? I gestured at the phone, at the damning proof playing on repeat. Why did I have to find out like this? If it was just a dance, why hide it? Karen's lips parted, but no words came. She had no answer because there wasn't one. Silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. I could see the gears turning in her head. She was trying to figure out the right move, the right words to say to get herself out of this. But there wasn't a right move. There wasn't a version of this where she walked away clean. I shook my head and took a step back. You know what, Karen? I said, my voice thick with disgust. I don't even care what your excuse is. I really don't. Because at the end of the day, you let it happen. You let some guy put his hands on you like that. You let yourself enjoy it. Her jaw clenched, and for the first time, I saw something else flicker in her eyes. Not guilt, not remorse, defensiveness, like she was ready to fight back, like she was about to turn this around on me. And that was the moment I knew. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She was just mad that she got caught. I stood there, the weight of the truth settling heavy in my chest. Karen didn't look sorry. She didn't look guilty. She looked caught, like a kid with her hand in the cookie jar, except this wasn't some childhood mistake. This was my marriage, my life, and she had just set it on fire. The towel around her body was still damp, droplets of water clinging to her shoulders, but she wasn't shivering from the cold. No, the tension between us had sucked all the warmth from the room, leaving only the kind of silence that made your skin crawl. I had given her a chance, a single chance, to tell me the truth, to come clean, and she had blown it. Now, I wasn't in the mood to hear anything else. "You're unbelievable," I muttered, shaking my head as I tossed her phone onto the bathroom counter. It landed with a loud clatter, but Karen didn't flinch. She just crossed her arms, her jaw set, her lips pressing into a thin, stubborn line. "So what?" she said finally, voice clipped defensive. "You're going to stand here and act like I did something wrong." I blinked. I actually blinked, stunned into silence for a second because I couldn't believe she had the audacity to say that. "Are you serious?" I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. She let out a sharp breath, rolling her eyes. "It's a dance, for God's sake. It's not like I was sleeping with him." I felt a sharp, hot flash of anger tear through my chest. "Not yet, right?" I shot back. Karen's face twisted. "Oh, come on. Listen to yourself. You sound crazy." I laughed. A bitter, humorless laugh. "I sound crazy? That's rich, coming from a woman who let some guy grope her in the name of artistic expression." She scowled, gripping the edge of the counter like she was trying to hold herself back. "You're blowing this way out of proportion." "Am I?" I snapped, stepping forward. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks a hell of a lot like you were enjoying yourself. Too much touching, too much smiling, too much." I gestured vaguely, unable to find the right words for the absolute rage burning inside me. Karen threw up her hands. "It's salsa. It's supposed to be passionate." "Passionate?" I scoffed. "That wasn't passion, Karen. That was something else entirely. You weren't just dancing with him. You were comfortable with it. Too comfortable." She shook her head, exasperated. "You don't get it. You've never danced like that before. You don't understand the connection you have to build with your partner." "The connection?" I repeated, voice dripping with disbelief. "Oh, so now you two have a connection?" Her lips parted, but she hesitated just a second too long. That was it. That hesitation was all I needed. "Wow," I muttered, running a hand down my face. "You really don't see it, do you?" "See what?" she snapped, eyes flashing with frustration. "How pathetic this is," I shot back. "How pathetic you are, standing here, still trying to defend it, still pretending like what you did was okay." Karen's nostrils flared. "You're making something out of nothing." I stepped closer, closing the space between us. "Is that so?" I said, voice dangerously low. "Then tell me this. If it was nothing, why didn't you tell me about it? Why'd I have to find out from some random video? Why did you keep it hidden?" She went still, dead silent. And that's when I saw it. The way her fingers twitched, the way her breath hitched just slightly. She had nothing. No excuse. No defense. Because deep down, even she knew the truth. She knew she had crossed a line. "That's what I thought," I muttered. Karen swallowed hard. Her posture stiffened. She looked like she wanted to say something, maybe even apologize, but I could see the wheels turning in her head, searching for a way to twist this around. And sure enough, she found one. "You know what?" she said, voice sharp, bitter. "This isn't even about me. This is about you and your insecurities." I stared at her deadpan. "My insecurities?" "Yes," she snapped. "You're insecure, and you're taking out on me because I have something in my life that doesn't revolve around you." I almost laughed. Almost. But my patience had long since snapped. "Karen," I said flatly, "I don't give a damn what hobbies you have. But don't stand there and act like I'm the problem because you can't keep your hands, or his hands, where they belong. She let out a breath, frustrated, but she knew she wasn't winning this. Because she wasn't winning this. I had her backed into a corner, and she hated it. You know what? I muttered, stepping away, shaking my head. I don't even know why I'm still standing here, listening to this crap. I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd have the decency to own up to it. But no. Instead, you're standing here, playing the victim, like I'm the one who did something wrong. Karen's expression flickered. I didn't cheat, she said firmly, like saying it with enough conviction would make it true. I met her gaze, unflinching. Not yet, I muttered. She went rigid. I turned on my heel and walked out of the bathroom, leaving her standing there, still wrapped in that damn towel, still dripping wet. I didn't want to look at her anymore. I needed space. I needed to breathe before I did something I'd regret. But one thing was for sure, this wasn't over. Not even close. I stormed out of the bathroom, my blood still boiling, my fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. The walls of our house felt smaller, suffocating, as if they were closing in on me. My heart was hammering in my chest, not out of sadness, not out of heartbreak, but out of sheer, unfiltered rage. I had given Karen a chance to explain herself, and what did she do? She threw the blame back at me. She called me insecure, tried to make me feel like the bad guy, like I was overreacting to her letting some sleazy dance instructor put his hands all over her. I wasn't some naive idiot. I knew how this worked. Women like Karen always convinced themselves they weren't doing anything wrong. They pushed the line further and further, letting harmless fun turn into meaningless flirting, and before long, it became one mistake, then one night, then it just happened. I'd seen it happen to other men. I just never thought I'd be one of them. But that video, it had made everything crystal clear. Karen had already started walking down that path, whether she wanted to admit it or not. The way she moved with that man, the way she let him own her on that dance floor, it wasn't innocent. And if I hadn't seen it, if I hadn't caught it, where would this have ended? Would she have told me when she finally caved? When she finally let the inevitable happen? Or would she have kept smiling in my face, coming home after those lessons, kissing me like nothing was wrong while she gave herself to another man behind my back? I exhaled sharply, pacing through the living room, my mind racing. I could still hear Karen moving around in the bathroom, probably getting dressed, probably trying to figure out how to do damage control. I knew she would come out soon, and I needed to be ready. I wasn't going to let her twist this back on me again. I wasn't going to let her make me feel crazy for knowing exactly what I saw. I grabbed the remote and turned on the TV, not to watch anything, just to drown out the thoughts in my head. The screen flashed some late-night news, but I wasn't paying attention. My eyes were locked on the hallway, waiting for her to come out. Sure enough, a few minutes later, she appeared. She had changed into one of her oversized sweaters, the kind she always wore when she wanted to look harmless, like some innocent wife who had done nothing wrong. Her hair was still damp, and she had pulled into a messy bun, but I wasn't stupid. She was preparing for another performance. "Are you just going to sit there and ignore me now?" she asked, crossing her arms. I didn't even look at her. She sighed heavily. "This is ridiculous." I let out a humorless laugh. "This is ridiculous? That's funny, because I was just thinking the same thing about your little dance performance." She rolled her eyes. "Jesus, are we still on this?" I snapped my head toward her so fast she flinched. "Are we still on this?" I repeated, voice sharp. "Karen, this isn't something you just brush off. This isn't oops, I dropped a plate, or oh, I forgot to take out the trash. You let another man touch you like that. You let him hold you, move with you, own you in a way that no married woman should ever let a man who isn't her husband do." She exhaled sharply, shaking her head. "You don't understand." "Then make me understand," I snapped. She hesitated, just like before, and that hesitation told me everything I needed to know. "You know what?" I muttered, shaking my head. "Forget it. I don't even care anymore." Her eyes widened slightly. "What do you mean you don't care?" I let out a breath, leaning forward, resting my elbows on my knees. "I mean, I'm done arguing. I'm done trying to get the truth out of you when you clearly don't respect me enough to give it. If you want to keep lying to yourself, fine. But don't expect me to sit here and play along." She swallowed. I'm not lying. I shot her a cold, dead stare. She bit her lip. I don't know what you want from me. I want the truth, I said flatly. But I already know I'm not getting that from you. Silence stretched between us. For the first time, Karen looked unsettled, like she was starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, she had pushed this too far. Look, she said, her voice softer now. I swear to you, nothing is going on. I know it looks bad, I know that, but it's just how the dance is. You don't understand how these things work. I clenched my jaw. You're right, I said bitterly. I don't understand. Because I'm not the kind of person who thinks grinding up against someone else while my spouse is at home is normal. She sighed, rubbing her temples. I never meant for this to be a fight. Then maybe, I said, standing up, you should have thought about that before you let him put his hands all over you. She inhaled sharply, but didn't say anything. Good, because I was done talking. I walked past her, heading toward the bedroom, and for once, she didn't try to stop me. That should have made me feel better. But all it did was confirm what I already knew. This marriage was spiraling, and Karen had no intention of stopping it. The only question now was, how far was she willing to let it fall? I barely slept that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind running in circles. Karen had gone to bed a couple of hours after me, slipping under the covers without a word, like we were just another married couple who had had a small disagreement. Like she hadn't just torn our marriage apart with her selfishness. I could hear her breathing beside me, steady, deep, like she had no trouble sleeping. And that pissed me off more than anything else. How could she sleep so easily? Did she not care? Or was she just relieved that I hadn't pressed her any further? By the time the first traces of morning light slipped through the blinds, I had already made my decision. I wasn't going to let this go. I wasn't going to be one of those pathetic husbands who ignored the warning signs until it was too late. Karen thought she could gaslight me into thinking I was overreacting, that I would see that video, get mad for a night, and then move on like nothing happened. She was wrong. I needed proof. Real proof. So, the next morning, while she was in the shower again, I grabbed her phone from the nightstand. My hands were steady, my mind clear. I wasn't snooping. I was confirming what I already knew. I swiped up, expecting to be hit with a passcode screen. But there wasn't one. The arrogance. Or maybe she was just that confident that I would never look. I went straight to her messages. Nothing unusual. No hidden conversations. No inappropriate texts. But I knew better. No one was stupid enough to leave that kind of evidence out in the open. I opened her call log. And there it was. A number that had been called multiple times over the past few weeks. Late at night. Early in the morning, at times when she was supposedly alone. I copied the number into my own phone. Then I checked her photos. Most of them were normal. Random selfies. Pictures of her dog. A few of us together from months ago. But then I noticed a hidden folder. I clicked on it. My stomach twisted. More videos. More recordings from her dance lessons. Except these weren't the kind of clips she would have sent me to show off her progress. They were different angles. Private moments. Her body pressed against his, her breath hitching when his hands slid down her sides. One clip even had him murmuring something in her ear, too soft for the camera to pick up, but I could see the way she smiled in response. A smile she hadn't given me in a long time. I exhaled slowly, closing the folder. I had my proof. Not the kind that would hold up in a courtroom, maybe. Not the kind that would make headlines. But enough. Enough to know that Karen wasn't just some naive woman who got caught up in the passion of the dance. She liked it. She wanted it. And she didn't give a damn about how it made me feel. The water shut off in the bathroom. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and walked out of the bedroom. I wasn't ready to confront her yet. Not until I had figured out exactly what I wanted to do next. I needed more information. I needed to find out exactly who this guy was. And I needed to make sure Karen knew that this little game of hers was about to come crashing down. I walked out of the bedroom, my head buzzing, my blood running hot. The morning sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across the floor, but I barely saw it. All I could think about was what I had just found. Karen's phone had given me everything I needed. The late-night calls, the hidden videos, the proof that this wasn't just dancing. I had wanted to believe, really wanted to believe, that maybe I was overreacting, that maybe, just maybe, this was one of those moments where I was letting my anger blind me. But no, the evidence was all there, laid out in front of me, and it was worse than I had imagined. Karen wasn't just playing a dangerous game. She was actively enjoying it. She knew what she was doing, and she didn't give a damn. I walked into the kitchen, grabbed the nearest chair, and sat down heavily. My mind was racing, running through the possibilities, the choices ahead of me. I could confront her now, throw her phone in her face, demand the truth, watch her squirm as she tried to come up with more pathetic excuses. But what would that do? She had already lied, already tried to manipulate me into thinking I was the problem. If I confronted her now, she'd just double down. No, I needed to be smarter than that. I needed to hit her where it hurt. The sound of the bedroom door opening made me tense. A moment later, Karen appeared in the hallway, towel drying her hair, still acting like nothing was wrong. She glanced at me and hesitated for a fraction of a second. She knew I was still pissed. "Good. You're up early," she said cautiously. I didn't respond. I just watched her, studying the way she moved, the way she avoided my eyes. She walked to the coffee maker and poured herself a cup, taking her time, as if dragging out the silence would make it easier. "I was thinking," she said finally, "maybe we should go out tonight. Just the two of us. Have a nice dinner. Talk." I let out a low chuckle. She wanted to talk? Now? After everything? Talk about what? I asked, my voice flat. She hesitated. "I don't know. Just us. We haven't really spent much time together lately, and I think." "You think what?" I cut her off, leaning forward, my elbows resting on my knees. "You think dinner and a couple of drinks are going to fix this?" Karen frowned, shifting uncomfortably. "I don't know what you mean." I tilted my head, my jaw tightening. "Don't you?" She sighed, setting her coffee down. "Look, I know you're still upset about last night, but can we just move on? Please, move on." Like it was that simple. I let out a slow breath, shaking my head. "You really don't get it, do you?" Karen folded her arms, defensive. "What do you want from me, huh? I told you the truth. You saw a video, you got mad, and now you're punishing me for something that wasn't even real." I narrowed my eyes. "Wasn't real?" She threw up her hands. "Yes, it looked bad, I get it. But that doesn't mean anything actually happened." I tapped my fingers against the table, considering my next words carefully. I could have thrown the phone at her right then and there, force her to look at what I had found. But I wasn't going to give her that luxury. I wanted her to sweat. "You know what, Karen?" I said finally, standing up. "You're right." She blinked. "What?" "You're right," I repeated, forcing a small, humorless smile. "Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I just need to see things from your perspective." She exhaled, relieved. "Exactly, that's all I'm saying. I just wish you'd trust me." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "And I will. But first, I have a question for you." She looked up at me warily. "What?" I leaned in slightly, watching her carefully. "Who's the guy?" Karen went stiff. A flash of panic crossed her face so quickly that if I hadn't been watching for it, I might have missed it. But I didn't miss it, and that was all the confirmation I needed. She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. "Actually, let me guess. You're about to tell me you barely know him, right? That he's just your instructor?" She swallowed hard, her throat bobbing. "And if I asked to see your phone right now," I continued, voice dangerously calm, "you won't have any messages from him, right? No calls? No secret conversations?" She stared at me, her lips slightly parted, as if she was struggling to find the right answer. "Go ahead," I said, nodding toward the counter where her phone sat. "Unlock it. Show me." Her shoulders tensed. For a second, I thought she might actually do it. But then, "I don't have to prove anything to you," she snapped. There it was, the final nail in the coffin. I chuckled darkly, stepping back. That's what I thought. Karen let out a frustrated breath. "You're being ridiculous." I shook my head. "No, Karen, you're being ridiculous. And you know what? I'm done. I'm done playing this game where you get to lie to my face and pretend like I'm imagining things." I grabbed my car keys off the counter and turned toward the door. "Where are you going?" she asked sharply. I didn't even look back. "To get some fresh air," I muttered before walking out. The door slammed behind me, rattling in its frame. I didn't know exactly where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay in that house for another second. I needed to clear my head. Because one thing was certain. Karen wasn't just some naive woman caught up in a harmless game. She was hiding something, and I was going to find out exactly what it was. I got in my car and gripped the steering wheel, staring straight ahead as my mind raced. My hands were still trembling, not from sadness, not from fear, but from sheer, unrelenting fury. Karen thought she was clever, thought she could lie to my face and keep up this charade until I got tired of asking questions. But she underestimated me. I wasn't going to let this go. I wasn't going to be another man who ignored the signs, let himself be walked over, and woke up one day to find his wife in another man's bed. No, I was going to get the truth, one way or another. I exhaled sharply and started the car, pulling out of the driveway. I had no clear destination, just the overwhelming need to get out of that house before I did something I'd regret. As I drove, my mind kept circling back to the videos. The way she moved with him, the way she let him hold her, the way she smiled when she thought no one was watching. The worst part? It wasn't even the physical closeness that got to me. It was the intimacy, the way she responded to him, the way her body language changed around him. That wasn't just a woman dancing with her instructor. That was a woman who enjoyed the attention, who wanted it, who craved something that I apparently wasn't giving her anymore. And that realization made my stomach turn. After about 10 minutes of aimless driving, I pulled into a random parking lot and just sat there, trying to breathe, trying to push back the wave of rage building in my chest. I needed more information. I pulled out my phone, opened my notes app, and stared at the number I had copied from Karen's call log. Who was he? I could have called him right then and there, but I knew that was stupid. If he was already messing around with my wife, if it had already gone that far, then he'd just lie. And if it hadn't happened yet, the last thing I wanted to do was warn him that I was onto them. No, I needed to be smart. I opened a search engine and typed in the number. A few seconds later, a name popped up, Daniel Vasquez. I clenched my jaw. So that was him. I scrolled down, skimming through the results. He had his own website, full of glowing testimonials from students. Pictures of him with different women, all of them praising his incredible talent and passionate instruction. I clicked on his social media next. The first thing I saw was a video of him dancing with another student. And just like in Karen's videos, his hands lingered. His gaze was intense, his movements slow and deliberate. I scrolled through more posts. It was the same every time. A different woman, a different dance, but always the same underlying tension. The same seduction disguised as art. I kept scrolling until I found a post from a few weeks ago. A picture of him at a restaurant. The caption read, "Great night out with a special friend. Some people just bring out the best in you." And sitting across from him, smiling, was Karen. My grip tightened on the phone. This wasn't just about dancing. This wasn't just some professional instructor doing his job. She was spending time with him outside of lessons. She was letting herself get close to him, letting him into her life in a way that had nothing to do with the dance floor. My stomach churned. How long had this been going on? Was this just an emotional affair, or had they already crossed the line? I sat there, staring at the screen, breathing hard, trying to decide my next move. I could confront Karen again, demand she tell me the truth. But she'd lie, just like before. I needed something more, something she couldn't deny. I opened the Messages app and copied Daniel's number into a new text. Then, after a moment of hesitation, I typed, "Hey man, I had a great time the other night. Karen can't stop talking about you. We should do it again soon." And I hit send. I leaned back in my seat, my heart pounding. If this guy was dumb enough to think Karen was texting him, he'd respond. And when he did, I'd have exactly what I needed. An hour later, my phone buzzed. I grabbed it so fast my fingers fumbled. Haha, glad to hear it. You two are such a fun couple. Karen is incredible. I can't believe how well we click. Let's set something up for next week. My vision blurred at the edges. I had what I needed. I didn't even have to think. I threw my car into reverse and sped out of the parking lot. I was going straight home. Karen was about to learn exactly what happened when you try to play me for a fool.